Hi guys, I'm Phill from Australia and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we're working on theme and variations from Norma. This is part 2. If you haven't checked out part 1, I'll leave a card up here somewhere. I'll also leave a link in the description. If you'd like the sheet music, you can get it from a link in the description. I'll leave a link in the description for pretty much everything I talk about. But if you haven't got the sheet music, I'd suggest grabbing the sheet music. You can grab the sheet music from the affiliate link in the description below as well. Now, I noticed that a lot of you guys have been listening to my recording from the Operatic Trumpet. It's available on all streaming services. I've got a link in the description if you haven't already. But when I'm learning music, I like to listen to it a lot. So like if I'm doing a recital, which I do quite a lot, I will actually create a playlist in my my streaming service. I like to use YouTube Music, and I'll create a playlist and I will listen to it over and over and over, and I'll put it in order and I'll listen to it there. So if you're working on this piece, I'd strongly recommend adding my recording from the Operatic Trumpet to your playlist of music so that you get to listen to it and you get to internalize it. Today we're working on Variation 1. Variation 1 is based on the main theme, which is the second theme we were working on last week, otherwise known as the cabaletta. Now we need to make sure that even though we're playing technically more notes than the main theme, we still need to hear that main theme come through whenever we're playing. Just because it's technical doesn't mean we can ignore the phrasing. So we're going to apply very similar phrasing to that main theme to what we do in this variation. We're going to get started with that Rossini. Remember how we spoke last week about the Rossini, the Barber of Seville? To start off. We want that to be prevalent every time it's in there. Now you'll hear in that section there, I had the lead in, so the ba-bum, just like the Rossini. But then the tempo went back to the consistent tempo that I had at the beginning, same tempo as the main theme. But then, like I did in the main theme, the ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bim, bum, pull back. I did the same thing, even though I've got all these semiquavers or 16th notes. Have another listen. And then I had the same approach for the second phrase. I'm internalizing, I'm hearing that main theme. Ba-bum, bum, ba-dum, bim, bum, bim. That is going through my head. I'm looking for that in the variation. Have a listen. See if you can hear the main theme. Now we're going on to that little bit of extra cheekiness, that second musical gem in this section. We need to hear that through this next phrase. Could you hear it? I'll play it again. Have another listen. Now you'll notice here we've got a quaver into the next bar. So that ba-dum has gone from semiquaver to crotchet or semiquaver to quaver. It's now quaver to quaver. We still want to have that bum bum kind of mentality. So it's and one, and then we continue with the phrase. But here we're back to that beginning of that main theme. So germ number 1 or musical melody number 1, we've got to have that going through here as well. hear that even though I'm playing a lot of notes, you can still hear the main theme coming through in the variation. Now, the way that I practice that is I go back to the main theme and I play through the phrase. And I look at the markings that I've marked. So for argument's sake, in the theme, I've marked a forwards arrow over the first bar, and then I've got a backwards arrow over the second beat of the second bar. Now that's because that C on beat 2 in the second bar is, I need to make that stand out. Then I'll go through to my variation page. I'll put this very similar markings on the variation. So I've got an arrow pointing forwards over the first bar, but then on the beat 2 of the second bar, I need to make sure that that is highlighted. And on this part, it's actually got an accent on it. So it tells us what we have to do to make that sound, so that make the theme come through. So by taking that approach where I use the markings and the highlighted notes of the theme and making sure that those notes are highlighted in the variation so that you can hear the theme in the variation, I'm then able to make the variation sound musical rather than just a technical exercise. I then use that same approach for the whole piece. So in the variation 1, the first phrase is very similar to the second phrase in shape. So you'll hear how I go the ba-dum, and then I gradually wind the tempo faster and faster. As I go through the phrase, I put the comma in there just like I did in the first phrase in the theme, and then I keep going to like wind up the tempo a little bit before I round off the phrase by bringing the tempo back again. I'm going to play the whole variation now. Now this time I want you to have a listen to how I'm shaping what I discussed before in the video and how it relates to the first theme which we learned in the last video. So I'm going to use articulation, dynamics, and tempo, so getting faster and getting slower, called rubato, to make that theme that we learned in the last video stand out in this variation. And that's variation 1 done. That's how I approach it, and that's how I recorded it. So go and have a listen to my album on the Operatic Trumpet. I'll leave a link in the description so you can go and find it on your favorite streaming platform. And yeah, you'll enjoy it, and I think you'll enjoy learning this. This week, I'd like you to go and learn that variation 1 and learn it, but I want you to apply the same phrasing that you applied to the theme to the variation. Do not let any technique kind of limit you on being musical. Next week, we're going to come back with variation 2. I'm going to give you my tips and tricks on how to triple tongue, because this is all triple tonguing. But we still want to be musical once again, but there's a lot of triple tonguing here. So next week I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how I practice this third movement so that I've got nice, clean and fast triple tonguing. Check out my recording on your favorite streaming service, add it to your playlist, and grab yourself some sheet music. There are links in the description for both of those. And I'll see you guys next week, ready for some triple tonguing on variation 2. As always, happy practicing.